Hi, it's Lyle from Made by Marley. Keep watching. Today I'm going to be doing a Moroccan theme on, and I'll show you the piece in a minute, on a very 80s style corner unit. I'm going to be showing you how to add lots and lots of texture with a self-leveling paint. So this is our latest victim. It's pretty ugly. The reason why I'm going for Moroccan, which is just a thing to always bear in mind when you look at furniture and what you're going to do on it, I thought these panels here were quite reminiscent of a sort of Moroccan shape. So hence the reason for Moroccan, this sort of kind of shape here. It's not real wood. It is very ugly. It's from the 80s. I'm going to make this thing beautiful. So it's got, you know, the kind of, still got the locks and everything. They all work. It's got glass shelves inside. You're not going to see those because I'm going to be covering these panels, the glass panels. And the cupboard, it's just a bog standard cupboard down below. The good thing about corner units is they actually sell quite well for me. They're great if you don't have a lot of space. So if you see one, pick one up and have a play with it, because it's great. Because I treat these as smalls because they're not great big massive pieces of furniture, because you don't have to paint the sides. So you're only focusing on the front. So I'm going to crack on and let's get this painted. So what you're going to need. Today, you can use the small rollers. I'm always a good advocate for those, but today you're going to need a slightly bigger one just because the surface area at the bottom is quite big. A blade, this is an IOD one, but you could use a spatula, a transfer stick, anything that's going to achieve that sort of look for you. A nice wide palette knife might work, and I've got here a blending brush. I've got a paint brush for self-leveling paint. Now, believe it or not, this is only about 2 weeks old. Looks like I've had it for 10 years. So I'm going to paint the majority of it. I'm going to start with my base coat. By the way, this has all been thoroughly cleaned. I'm going to start with my base coat, which is going to be, probably, I'm going to put the light colour underneath. So I'm going to go with the pink first. Very Moroccan. This is the pink I'm going to be using. Today's paints are all going to be the Jubilee range from Guild Lane. So they're all self-leveling, self-sealing, outdoor, indoor paint. That's the kind of paint I'm going to be using today. I mean, here's me trying to get my strokes all nice and smooth when I'm going to be putting loads of texture on, but it's neither here nor there. So I'm going to be starting with this sort of pink, and the sort of colours that are going over the top are this green, maybe some of this bluey green together might make it more what I'm looking for. I'm going to have quite a lot of white distress over the top of this, but there are elements of yellow that I'm going to put into this. So I don't know, I might err with caution on that one. I might add a little bit of this to this just to make it less obvious. Anyway, this is what I'm doing, and as you can see, I'm just painting this in nice and pink, and I'm going to do the whole thing pink with one coat. You don't need 2 coats of this because there's going to be so much going over the top of it. This is just a kind of canvas coat on it, and once I've done this, we'll get back to the next part. So what I'm doing here now is I've just mixed some of this light blue into this green. I like the green, but it's just a little bit too glaring, so I'm just kind of making it slightly lighter, and that's all I was doing there. I was just mixing those through. Now back to our base coat. Our base coat is rough and ready. It's a single coat. You know, this would never fly if it was just a coat of paint, and I wasn't caring whether, I mean, I can't see anywhere if there was any drips, but if there was any drips, I wasn't too worried. I haven't even missed up there, so it doesn't matter. You know, this is what I wanted for this. Now, I put this in a tub wide enough that I can get my blade into, and what I'm literally going to do is I'm going to start applying some green over the top of this. Now, it is self-leveling paint, so it's going to go on a little bit skiddy because it's a shiny surface, but I'm just trying to build up some texture, some layers. I want the pink showing through, so, and I'm going to use lots of different things. So now I've got my palette knife, and we'll do something like this down here. Like keep pink, but like, I'm trying to explain it so that it's, you want the pink, but you don't want too much of the pink. You know, it's just a little bit here and there that's showing. So I'll show you this on this little panel just so you're kind of got the rough idea of how much pink I'm looking for. Yeah, it's probably about right. And I want texture now. It's going to run because it's self-leveling paint, but I'm not bothered about that. That's all okay. That's just going to be part of. Now for this part here, I mean, you're really just going to have to kind of work it for quite a while to get to, till you know, until you get it just right, you know, on joints like this. Currently, what I'm trying to do is I'm going to try and avoid this part because this is where the decoupage paper is going to go. So I'm not trying to do that. And what it's a lovely, beautiful day here in Scotland, so it's starting to kind of dry up already. So that's working in my favour because I can go back over the top of it and kind of like, you can see what I'm doing here. I've applied it with a blade, and now I'm going back over with my palette knife just to make sure that I've got plenty of texture. And again, this is pretty much, and maybe a little bit less pink. This is about how much I want showing through of the pink. There are going to be some other colours going over the top of here, predominantly a sort of creamy white, but I don't mind if I'm taking away the original. Because this is so fresh, you've got to be careful that you're not escaping the surface off it. You don't want that. You want your pink showing underneath. And this is just going to take a little bit of work till you get it to where you want enough showing, and with enough pink showing through. So I'm going to go off and I'm just going to work my way, trying to avoid this area here. I'm going to come in a little bit, but trying to avoid this area here. The top, I'm going to do it on the top, but I'm going to avoid the glass panels, which I've already painted pink, because they're going to have paper on it, but I do want to have it on all the little wooden parts, so I'm going to be doing that there next. So I'll do as much of this as I can, and then I'll show you again after a little while of how much I've got done. So if you just focus on this area, that's the green on. I'm letting the drips stay in. I'm looking for as much texture as I can possibly get in, and this is about as much pink as I want to keep. Ignore this part here, which is a great big section of pink, because that's where the decoupage paper is going to go. Now we're going to just repeat the process all over again, and this is the colour that I really want to keep. So I want to try and eradicate some of the green, keep some of the pink. It's a little, I'll show you. So I'm going to go over now with this over the top of here, but I'm trying to keep the pink that I've left on from previous times, but I'm trying to get rid of some of the green. So off we go again, all over the place again. And you know, if this was chalk paint, you'd have an amazing lot of texture by now. But obviously, because we're not using chalk paint and I'm using self-leveling, self-sealing, it takes a lot more effort to get your texture. Now, I'll just say this, sometimes just taking a kind of really rough, bristly brush like this at some areas as well, because there's some areas you just can't get into, you know, like with your, so you know, any tricky parts, just come in with this over the top of your color or your green. You don't have to put the green on, you can go straight on with the blue, but I wanted another sort of dimension underneath, so I've obviously have to make things way more complicated, and this is supposed to be my quick one for the week. Anyway, I'm going to go on and do that now. Just the same process again. It's all about the layers. So just putting on your layers, and you can use your blade, use your roller. I used up here. I'll get Martin to show you up above in a minute. But up here, I used a roller. And I used a small brush here. Now, obviously, I don't care whether it's gone on the pink. There's going to be really thick decoupage paper. I'm using really thick paper that I've printed out a design, so I'm not worried about it. So that's really what I've done. So you're just doing the same thing, just over and over again, over the green now. That's all I'm going to do. Now, I admit it looks a little bit interesting right now, but now what we're going to do is we're going to put another layer on. We're going to put white on it now, and it will all become apparent when I start to fill these parts out. So it's just the same deal before, and I'm just going to be doing it with a palette knife this time because I want it quite measured. So, and it's not going everywhere this time. I'm just going to kind of go in around the edges just to give it another piece of interest. So this is what I'm going to do now. I'm just going to go on and I'm going to just kind of like add white where I think, I'm just trying to hurry it up basically so you're not watching layer upon layer upon layer, but you get the sort of gist of what I'm doing. I'm not covering up the blue. I'm just adding white because there's white in our design and I need to pull these things together. So I'm going to go on with my palette knife and I'm just going to layer up some white on the edges. Yeah. Okay. Okay, so the white is all dry now, and I brought it into the studio because decoupage isn't good doing in the wind. So I've cut these to size. I've cut 2 panels off each side, and this is what's going to go on here now, but I want to rip it. So I want to rip it kind of around here. So I'm just going to rip it. Just because I want to butt some paint up against. So up against it. So I'm just gonna give it a sort of, I'm just gonna rip it. Plus it's easier for it to be applied if it's got a little bit of a ripped edge. So just rip that there. And I'll just take that down this edge as well. So that's going to go, I think, because I still want to keep some of this pink here. And this is going to go here, so I need to rip these corners off. So that's my top, and this is going to be my sort of bottom shape. And hopefully now my color scheme has kind of like all made sense. So I'm applying this with Mod Podge. I'm still playing around with paper thickness and what you apply it with at the moment for decoupage. So my brush was a little bit wet there with the Mod Podge on. So I'm going way over where I need to go, but just so I want the squarey type one at the top. Don't really particularly care whether it's particularly central because it's all going to work. Oh, that's going on without a wrinkle, but this isn't the paper, it's just a little bit too thick, but that's lovely. Just going to run a band of glue along this edge here and make sure that there's no wrinkles down this end. And I'm going to just butt this edge up to this edge here. I'm try and straighten it up a little bit, though that might work. There. Let's move this side down. Now, I'm not too worried about it being an odd shape because the paint's going to cover this, but what I am going to do right now is make sure that all these edges, whoops, work for me. So I'm not going to labour on this too long. You've seen me apply decoupage paper tons and tons of times. I just want to make sure that this edge here is nice and secure. Now for the top, I'm just going to let that actually dry right now before I paint round and bed it all into the rest. Let's get rid of that one there. Oops, something not quite right there. Now for the top, I've got the same design, but it's a thinner print pattern, and literally all I'm going to do, oh, if I can get up, I'm stiff, is I'm just going to crease it into here. So I've got a template for the size. Try not to move it. And I'm literally going to cut out panels. Always the white side if you want to do, cut it out. I'll just show you this one and then you understand what I'm doing. It's just for the glass. And that should hopefully be the right kind of size. Let's just test it. Obviously, if you've got a piece like this, you're going to have to kind of take your time, make sure it fits. Now, because I put all my different colours of distress in there, I'm not too worried about the fit. Yeah, I think that's going to go in there nicely. So I'm just going to go off. I'll do a few and then I'll come back and I'll film how many I've done and how easy it's going on or how difficult it's going on, whatever. But this is going to be this here. And by the time we get these on here, this will be down here. I'll be ready to paint in the edges stuff. Okay, so I said I'd catch you halfway through, but I just continued. You got the idea. I was just filling the panels with decoupage. So the top's been done now. We are going to have to add a little bit more pink back in. There is still quite a bit of pink, but I want a little bit more pink in the distress to match it. And we're going to have to put some of this red and possibly this yellow. I don't know. Anyway, we're down here because now we have to put this, we have to set this back in our paint. So I'm going to be kind of using a brush around the edges, letting it dry, and then putting the distress over the top. So I just want to butt these edges up without losing too much of that pink if I can. It's all about making sure that the edges don't, you know, there's no edges. So I'm just kind of doing this. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to work my way all the way around it, just to kind of get rid of that edge before I do the distress over the top. So I'm going to do that, and once this is dry, we'll come back and we'll put the distress on. Okay, so this is dry, and now it's time to start putting the distress around it. I've already finished up the top part, and I've added more pink. I'll get Martin just to scan up slowly, and I've added a little bit of red as well, which is in the design here. So really, all I've got to do down the bottom is make this all work together now with the pink, and that's what I'm doing. I'm just kind of like running down this into the pink and running it over the blue because I want a little bit more pink around this. Just running it over, and I can straighten it all out with the paintbrush if it's a little bit too scratchy looking. It's just I've got a different palette knife I'm using. I want to run that back up into that green. If you feel it's getting a little bit kind of too much, just put a roller on it. You don't want it to be too straight, so you have to kind of even that out. I'm just going to put a little bit pink down here. That's all that needs there. You don't want to take that away from it. Just something like that. Bring that up there. So really, I'm just going around this part here to fix this part, and then I'm just picking out areas. I'll just show you that I want to add a bit more pink over the top. Now, I'm just trying to count the layers. There was the pink, then there was the green, then there was the blue, then there was the white, and now there's pink again, and I'm putting some red in it as well. So you can see that to get this kind of look, you can't really be lazy. You just have to kind of like wait for each one of your layers to dry, and then just once it's completely dry, just keep on working. And you can use any sort of decoupage paper on any kind of piece. This is a piece. This is one that works. The distress finish works on anything. So I'm going to go and work this in. And to be honest with you, after that, we're done. So we're nearly finished. So this is a really heavily distressed piece. Obviously, it's had about 6 layers, maybe more than that. I've added a little bit of yellow. I did that off camera. There's a tiny yellow part in this design, so it just kind of ties it up. Just tiny parts. There's not that much of it. It's just a little bit because I'm going to be putting these handles on. Look at these beauties. Martin bought me these unsupervised on a whim. Martin quite often buys me handles. It's very romantic, but these are really nice handles. So I've had them, and I've been looking at them over there where I keep all my handles for quite a while, but I've never quite had a piece that had 4, and I want to put 2 on here, so I'm going to use these today, and I think that'll just give it another little bit of something. Now, corner units, you can't charge the air for them. They're just what they are. I'm not going to paint the inside of this, so that denotes how much I can charge for it. So if you're doing corner units, just be aware of that. I used to paint up the sides and everything, but however, when it's in position, as long as your edge is very clean and tidy on both sides, there's no problem with that. What can I say about this piece? I did my research on the Moroccan decoupage paper. That I designed this myself, so I know that it's a Moroccan pattern. I changed it up with some of the colours, although I was looking at quite a lot of Moroccan sort of doors and things, and I could see that sort of, it was maybe a hotter sort of pink, but the blues definitely. So I'm quite happy with it. It's a nice piece. I think it'll sell. So I'll get on. I'm actually going to get Martin to put these handles on. I'll sit down for a couple of minutes, and then we'll get to staging. Finished. So I went a little bit crazy on the handles, and I just got Martin to put them all on the piece of furniture. So I got him to put one on this fake piece, on this piece of wood here, which is nothing to do with anything, but it looked nice underneath that one, and obviously the key unlocks it like that. One here where this one is, and one up the top, and I really think the handles really make it. I'm quite happy with that. So what did we do? Loads and loads of layers, lots and lots of distress. You can go heavy or light on your distress. When you find cabinets like this that have got glass, and unfortunately what I would have done with this as soon as I saw it was I'd planned to take the glass out and put chicken wire behind it, or get Martin to panel it out, but the glass was sandwiched between two layers, so couldn't get rid of the glass. So I decided to decoupage it, so you can paint and decoupage glass. As long as it's self-sealing paint, you can paint over glass. I've got a project like that coming up shortly because it's from my own house. So I'll be doing that with a little cabinet. It's all self-leveling, self-sealing paint. So this whole thing that you can't add texture with a self-leveling paint, if you throw enough at it, you can. And it depends what tools you use. With a brush, not so much. With lots of different things like a roller, your palette knife, a blade, all these different things, and sometimes a paintbrush, and you can start to add lots of layers and lots of texture. The handles came from TK Maxx, and that's it. There's no staging to this because it is what it is. And we're done for today. So I've been Lil from Made by Marley. I hope you've enjoyed this. We're trying to commit to one large involved piece a week and one small, which was supposed to be a small craft project, but this hasn't taken very long. So it's just layer it, go away, layer it, go away, layer it, go away. So that's it. If you've enjoyed this video, give me a thumbs up, leave me a comment, consider subscribing, sharing it, push the bell notification so that you're notified when we release another video. And apart from that, that's everything for today. Thank you so much for watching. Bye bye.